Hello, Oscillator Sync here. A few days ago I posted this jam. So what I was trying to do with this jam is kind of create kind of a sort of a techno bassline drone plus drum machine kind of patch, which is what we've got set up here. I asked in the description of the video would people like to learn more about the patch, and on Facebook and on YouTube I had enough people say that they were interested that I thought, well, I'll make this video just explaining what this patch is doing, because there's quite a lot of cables here. What I want to make really clear to begin with is that I am in no way saying that the way I've implemented this in this case is necessarily the best way of doing it. This came out of a lot of experimentation in between making other videos essentially, and certainly there are some things in here which in retrospect I could probably do differently. Indeed, there was at least one patch in here that was completely redundant actually, which I removed before I started the video because I was embarrassed basically. I'm hiding that from you. Right, so let's actually talk about the patch. So the first thing to mention before we look at anything else is this knob here, which is the attenuator to amp knob. So what this means is that the amp on the synth is actually wide open. This is, for all intents and purposes, a drone patch. Actually, there is always sound coming through the synth as long as one of the sliders on the mixer is up. It doesn't necessarily sound like that because I'm doing other things to change the envelope, the shape, the loudness, the hearability of the sounds. But yeah, this is kind of I'm cheating essentially. The other thing is that I've got the brute factor turned up a little bit because it just dirtied things up in a way that I found quite appealing, kind of blended everything together a bit more, made them interact with each other in interesting ways. Okay, right, I guess the place to start really is with the kick drum. The kick drum is coming from oscillator 2 here. And if I turn this up, if you listen really carefully, you might hear a rumble and some clicks, but not much else. And the reason for that is that the tuning is super low, basically almost subsonic, not quite, but almost there. The range on VCO2 is massive on this synth, and I've got it turned right the way down. And the reason that you can hear the kick drum is because I'm altering its pitch, not its volume. So let's take a look at how we're doing that. So if we look on the patch bay, VCO2, its pitch input is coming from actually the ADSR. Okay, so that's this envelope here, and what I've got defined here is kind of a fairly standard kick drum pitch envelope, which is that it's an instant onset attack, a quick decay, fairly low sustain, and in this case a short release, but we'll come back to release because that's interesting, at least I think it's interesting. So this envelope has been triggered actually from this here, the mod 2 track, so that's this track here. Now these two mod tracks on the sequencer can be set to do a ton of different things. I can't wait to do more videos on how just ridiculously good and flexible and interesting the sequencer is on this. Like suffice to say, it's really cool. But we'll come back to that in more detail another day. So this here is currently set to send out gates. And if we look here, this is essentially our kick drum pattern. If we play it, you can hear our kick drum happening. Now, what's interesting about having this sequencer track set up as gates is that each of these steps can be set to have different gate percentages, so how long the gate signal has been sent. So whether or not it's just a single pulse if it was very, very low, or whether it actually holds the gate open for the entirety of the step. Now what that allows me to do is alter the shape of the kick drum a little bit by playing with the release in particular. So check this out. I do this in the jam. hear there that we're getting different pitches, different lengths happening. Now what's interesting is that the steps which have the long ones, find one. I think it's a long one. Doom. Yeah, so this is a longer one here. And if we have a look here, the gate is set super low. So why is it that this is making us hear a longer kick drum? Well, what we need to remember about an ADSR envelope is that the release stage happens as soon as the note stops playing, so essentially when the gate stops. So when we have a longer gate, we have enough time for this to attack up to full, and then quickly decay back down, and then to the sustain level, and then release. If we have a very short gate, we don't have a chance for the decay to actually finish. Instead, we go up really quickly, and then before the decay can even get all the way, we've turned the gate off and we've switched to our long, languid release, and that's where we get these longer notes. So actually, a shorter gate is leading to a longer kick drum sound. Neat implementation of being able to do that. In the middle, we just kind of get sort of the body. Up at the top, it's more sort of pitched. Okay, so that's the kick drum sound. And I'll stop for a second. The snare is coming from essentially from the noise, but if we turn the noise all the way up, we just kind of get this. Well, we just get noise on the whole time, which is not what we want. It's not a snare drum sound. What we want to do is basically have this sort of. We want to be flicking that fader really, really quickly. Unfortunately, there's no way to CV the sliders on the mixer. These are just straight knobs. They're not control voltage controlled. So how can we actually get snappy snare drum sounds, which, spoiler alert, are here? Okay, so we know they're coming in on the external input there. So let's trace that backwards. So we've got the external input here, and that is coming from the output of the VCA. VCA, voltage controlled amplifier. It's a way that we can have control over the amplification of a signal. The input of the VCA is coming from the noise. So the noise is coming into the VCA, it's going out of the VCA into the external input here. Now what is controlling that VCA is the sequencer track 2. So as I mentioned before, these two sequencer tracks are highly configurable in terms of what they can do. So this one was acting as a gate. The one that is controlling the VCA for the snare is acting as an envelope. So what you've essentially got on each of these steps is a simple AD envelope being fired. Instant attack. And then the decay is being defined by the knobs here. So we've got some short ones here, over here somewhere. I think we've got, that one's nearly a second long, so that's quite a long one. That's long-ish, and then short again. And what we get then is this kind of snare and hi-hat pattern. So with the kick, and of course you can play this by turning stuff on and off. So that kind of leaves the bass drone sound, which is coming from the rest of the oscillator 1. So if we just bring one of these up, I guess this one. So there's a couple of things happening here. Pitch is being controlled by the pitch as normal. The gate is being, well, the gate is essentially being ignored because the amp is already open. Naturally, if we have a look on the patch bay here, the gate is being sent into the trigger of the AD envelope, and the output of the AD envelope, because it's not controlling the amp at the moment, is going to the FM input on here, which is what it's giving. If we turn this down, yeah, we've just got this kind of straight drone. Whereas with it up, we've kind of got this attack, which we can control with the AD envelope. So that kind of leaves us with the other modulation sources, which are mainly our LFOs here. They're both set to sample and hold, and they're being sent to various different places. Some of them where they are normally. So we've got LFO1 is controlling the resonance mod, so I can always kind of hear this sort of in the background. Be very, very quiet. LFO1 is also being sent into the metal mod control of the triangle wave, which is why you're hearing this kind of sound there. The other thing that we've mostly got going on here is LFO2 is going into the attenuator 1, which is this knob here, which by default will be sent to the cutoff. So what that's doing is when I turn this knob off, it's adding a sample and hold LFO to what's already set on the cutoff. So that's quite cool because from a performance standpoint, if we set things going, we can kind of use it to do kind of rolls almost. I'll show you in context. It's easier to hear than explain probably. Because you get this big sort of stepped, it's synced modulation happening. So you can kind of use that to create variations. I think that covers all of the patch points. The other thing to maybe talk about quickly is the performance aspect of it, which is just all playing the sequencer in. As kind of the performance was going. The Arturia have really got sequencers for jamming sort of down to a T. You know, I am, as you've probably noticed on the channel recently anyway, a big Electron fanboy in terms of their sequencers. But I think that the Arturia sequencers are really, really great for on-the-fly composing, on the fly jamming, putting stuff together and tweaking it as you go. And when you have a sequencer that allows you to be so flexible on these two tracks here, that's really quite a big deal with this sequencer to allow you to kind of put those jams together in real time. I think that should be absolutely commended and highlighted. Anyway guys, I hope that was interesting and useful for those of you who were interested in taking a look at the patch, and hopefully those who didn't know you were interested in looking at the patch but can find that interesting anyway. I will be featuring the Minibrute lots more on the channel in the upcoming weeks and months. I think it is a very interesting instrument that is worth diving into in some detail. And that's not interesting in a derogatory way. That is genuinely, I think it is a very interesting machine that allows you much more flexibility than even someone who kind of understood the patch bay ahead of time maybe would think, because of the sequencer that it is paired to. That's such a big deal. Anyway guys, yeah, thank you for watching. If you did enjoy the video, please do give it a thumbs up and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And other than that, thank you so much for joining me. I will see you again soon. Bye bye. Take care.